In my opinion, Larry, what they fail to understand, I think, to be fair, if you consider Iran as your enemy, at least you have to understand what sort of system this country is. You cannot make things up saying this is a country dependent on one person, and we kill that one, supreme leader, and the whole country gonna collapse. This was totally delusional on the part of the West, in my opinion. But
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
the importance? Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just agreeing. Look, this is actually, I'll call it a consequence of Hollywood and television shows, because the way you put a story on, you make a movie, you always got to have a hero, and that everything revolves around that hero, and then you've got the antagonist, the villain, and everything revolves around it. It's a very simplified world. There's no complexity. There's no real nuance, because you can't confuse people with nuance. Um, and so in this case, the narrative becomes that the Ayatollah ruled with an iron fist, that there was no dissent allowed, that the people were subjected to great persecution, and it was only just through some miracle that some have risen up to try to overthrow the oppression, that kind of thing, without understanding actually the nuance of how people interact, how they live. Like with yourself, you went back to Iran. Was it late December, and you were there for 2 months? Uh, so
Yeah.
you got you left before the start of the war, did you?
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
left on February 7th.
yeah.
Yeah. The war started on February 28th. So it
So
was,
yeah, so
yeah.
you saw actually how people were thinking and reacting, and what your family had to say, how regular people were reacting, and most of the Western news coverage, they don't capture that at all. They're not even interested in that. Uh, they have their own um, prejudices that they're on display. So you've got to um, you got to dig beneath the surface and try to say, okay, what's really going on here, and uh, you know what I've seen in my experience, and it goes back to when I started work at CIA, when I entered my first day on the job as an analyst in the Central America branch. Uh, the outsiders perceive that, CIA's got all these people with deep expertise and knowledge. They're covering like Central America. They know it inside and out. I was. Let's see. There were two behind me, one in front of me, three, 4, 5, 6. So there are a total of 10 analysts in this branch. I was the only one that had actually lived in Central America. I was the only one that spoke Spanish at, they rank as Foreign Service Scale does at 1 through 5. I spoke it at a level 4. And yet, these people are to do analysis on Central America, where they don't know the culture, they don't know the people. And when you add into that what like analysis of places like Iran or Iraq, which frankly are more, I'll call them more exotic than Central America. If you do get someone in, you get in an Iranian, someone who was a big supporter of the Shah, their family exiled, they're in the United States, and they got a grudge. They've got a they're working an angle. They are not objective, but they bring that prejudice to the job, and that's the problem. That not getting good objective analysis. So, here is Iran that's not properly understood by anybody in the Trump administration.
Yeah. Looking at Iran, Larry, the first supreme leader of Iran, when he came to power, it was right after the revolution. You remember the Iran-Iraq war somehow, happened, and then they were in war for 8 years, 1981 to 1989,
I think it started in 1980, actually, September of 80.
1980 and 1988. Yeah,
So it was actually it was actually 9 years, because I don't think they settled. They actually got the final settlement until like March of '89. Maybe I may be mistaken.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was 1980 till 1988, and then it lasted. But we had right after the putting an end to the war, and after that ceasefire between Iran and Iraq being signed, you see the supreme leader of Iran, the first supreme leader of Iran, passing away. And he was charismatic. He was different. He was so, in the eyes of Iranians, in the eyes of the society in Iran, was so important. And many people thought, who's going to replace him?
Yeah.
Are we going to have, is that going to be a huge crisis in Iran? Then you see the second supreme leader of Iran, Sayyid Ali Khamenei, comes, and you see what he has done, Larry. I think that today's Iran is the outcome. He's the architect of the modern Iran today, what we know Iran as today, because he basically reformed everything and created many organizations. And many of these components within the system were created by his policies. He created them. The outcome of the war between Iran and Iraq somehow gave him some sort of wisdom that if he wants to defend Iran, he needs something else to defend Iran, because Iran had the fighter jets from the United States during those days, because the Shah regime was so close to Washington.
Well,
but
I mean, let me just interject. And so those were F-4s. And in the first weeks of the Reagan administration, who was it that came before the Reagan administration into President Reagan's office and asked for U.S. permission to sell, to provide tires for those aircraft to Iran? Do you know who that was?
No.
Israel.
No.
So that's why when I hear Bibi Netanyahu get all his panties in a wad over all this, again, the history's a lot more complicated on this front, because here was Israel advocating for, even though the hostages had just been released. And yet here was Israel begging the United States, because Israel at this time was preoccupied with going after Saddam Hussein and his nuclear program. That they wanted permission to make sure that Iran had these tires so that they could fly the aircraft.
Recently, the Iraqi government, they have published a report that shows right after, the occupation of Iraq by the United States, they have basically killed all those scientists, of the nuclear program of Iraq.
Yeah.
I don't know who did that, but it seems that they, little by little, the intelligence or those people who were involved, somehow they managed to kill all of them, most of them. If not all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it was, this is part of using the IAEA inspection program to get inside the nuclear program in Iran, to identify specific individuals. Then that information was passed to the CIA was gathering it, because they had someone on the team who was working for them. And then that information was put into the hands of groups like the Mujahideen al-Khalq, MEK, who were quite happy to go out and carry out the assassinations. So, this was again just another example of Iran trying to cooperate with the West, trying to say, hey, we want to be a sort of good citizen of the world, and getting completely screwed over in trying to do that. That they have to become more paranoid. So there are reports out that the Pakistanis disrupted an assassination plot against the Ayatollah Mustafa Khamenei. That may be one reason why he hasn't appeared in public. But the Iran, you can make the case that in some aspects Iran's been a little naive in its approach with the West.
The supreme leader, the second supreme leader of Iran, which we've seen the funeral of him today and the day before, he was, Larry, the main reason that you see the Iranian missile program, drone program, is because of him.
Mm-hmm.
He insisted for many, many years that we're going to have a very powerful and mighty defense system. And that's going to be, he knew that, the evaluation on the part of the Iranian military was that, are we going to go after, producing fighter jets? How far can we go? Are we going to get close to the United States or Russia? So their assessment in those days was, no, we're not going to be able to, to catch up with these superpowers. So what else can we do? Let's do something else. Let's make new missiles. Drones, then came drones. You're going to be amazed that in the initial days of this program, there were people in Iran, those neoliberals or liberals or whatever we can call them, that today they're so weak in Iran that part of the people, or maybe decision maker, they're not part of the Iranian society. They're some part of the elites, I would say, in Iran. They were arguing, why do we need missiles? It's all about human being. We want a peace. It's going to be everything going to be peaceful. Let's make a better relationship with the United States, and that's going to bring peace to the region. So there is no enmity between us and them. Human right, this and that. And that was the argument underput by the supreme leader of Iran. He insisted, but considering all of those arguments, said, no, we're going to make missiles. The missile program. And during the negotiations for the nuclear program, Larry, before that, they were talking about the missile, the ballistic missile program of Iran to be part of the negotiations. And there were people inside Iran saying, no, we can talk about that as well. But the supreme, that's why I'm telling you the importance of his role when it comes to the Iranian military power today. It's all dependent on his decisions, because he decided, we're not going to negotiate about the missile program of Iran. We're not going to negotiate on the drone program of Iran. If they want to talk about the nuclear program, go ahead and talk. That's all. Because we're not going to build nuclear weapons. We're not that's why we had that fatwa. This is the importance of the second supreme leader of Iran.
Yeah, well, he also ended up, the popular meme or narrative in the West is that women are oppressed in Iran. Women are beaten if they go out in public without wearing a hijab. Homosexuals are hung from cranes or thrown off buildings, and yet it was really under the Sayyid Ali Khamenei that there was let's call it an easing of the religious strictures that had been put in place initially under the Ayatollah Khomeini, and that that I think that actually helped sort of blow off some of the tension that had built up within Iranian society. Is that fair or not?
Yeah, that's fair. Uh, Larry, I think Iran as a country, we have to understand that there is some part of the society are more conservative, the other part is more open, and you have a combination of all different sort of ideas coming together. It's a country of 92 million people, after all. But what was happening when it comes to the women and to the hijab and these sort of things, you don't see. I think the government and the the government in Iran has learned a lot in the recent decade, because it was always the case to manipulate the Iranian society. It was always about the human right, women right, free speech, all of this and that. And today you go to Iran, you don't see any of those issues, because the government, it was a learning process for the government as well, because they learned a lot because if you want to keep your society safe, you have to understand what is the main sources of attacks on your society.
Right.
So they reduced that sort of friction within the society. That was a huge, I would say, you said that I got back after 12 years being outside of Iran. When I got there, I went to the streets to talk with the people, to see what's going on there, not only with my family and my friends. I went to see the society. I wanted to see how the people feel about it. Was all different. It wasn't even close to what I was witnessing before leaving Iran. And this is a huge sort of change. It's part of the Iranian identity.
How did it change?
The changes happened because both sides, you see the people who were somehow not happy with some conditions, as you mentioned, with the women or this sort, because we have the religious.
Well, you're not understanding my question. Explain to me specifically, what did you see that had changed?
Everything has changed.
What and how had it changed? Not the process of what, who did what, but what was the transformation that you saw?
Let me put it this way. Economically, let's start with the economy. The Iranian economy was under tremendous sanction and the inflation is so high. But I had a friend here in Brazil. He studied with me for PhD. He studied here in Brazil. He went back to Iran, and I stayed here in Brazil. His life is much, much better than my life here in Brazil. He's much wealthier than me. He's professor there. He's teaching there the same way that I teach here in Brazil, but he's in a much better position economically than me. This is the way that the economy works there. You can get rich easily. And the second part is the society, the way that you see the society. The society, they're more open. You see the women, as they say, the hijab. There is nothing. There is no force on the part of the government to force people to have the proper hijab, as they call it. Nothing of that sort is happening there anymore. The society is more open. You see the way that the people talking about the government inside Iran, you're going to be amazed how they criticizing everything. While they understand, there are two sides, because when Benjamin Netanyahu comes out and said the people hate Iranian government, if you look at the discussions in Iran, you may feel these people hate the government, because they don't understand the culture. Yeah. These people are criticizing the system while they're part of the system. They understand that they're part of Iran. They're part of the whole country. They feel about it. That's why they're going. You see this sort of fight. They somehow is perceived from outside that they're somehow hating their country, their government, and nothing of that sort is true, Larry. Because I think what you've raised about the the experts on Iranian, for example, you know, in the case of Iran, in the case of Russia or China, you have to have people who understand the culture, who go there, who understand how the people feel, how they. Today they said, as I said before, they say "Marg bar Araqchi," the death to Araqchi, the foreign minister of Iran, after signing MOU. And for us outside Iran, we may feel that they want to kill Araqchi, the foreign minister of Iran, but that's not the case. The culture is different. The way the people express themselves is different. That's the huge misunderstanding between what we hear here in the West and what they feel inside Iran. This is the problem. This is the huge disconnection between the two sides. I feel my understanding of Iran has improved a lot in each and every aspect, Larry.
Well, that's why, that's why I think it's important for you to, really drill down, boil down into like how it has changed, what you see is different from, when you were growing up. So, you were born in the early 1980s.
Yeah.
And this is really in the early, you were a small child during the Iran-Iraq War. So you really I don't think you had any kind of living memory of it. And I'm not even sure that you had any comprehension of how that war affected the country at the time. Now, and so it was, those who participated in that war, that affected them. And so we're talking at this time, let's go back 40 years, people who were at age 20 then, they're now 60. So basically the generation that remembers the war are probably from the age of 56 higher. Under 56, they don't have a clue. They didn't, it was, you heard about it just like, here in the United States, we hear about the war in Vietnam or the war in Korea or the war, Second World War. It's something distant. It's not relevant to us. It's like, this is history. But now, in the wake of this attack that murdered the Ayatollah and his wife and his daughter-in-law and his granddaughter, now it's brought it home. And so Iranians, from the age of 15 up now, they have now a tangible experience that is going to stay with them now for the next, until they die. So you figure next 50 years, the people who are 15 years of age and to say 30 years of age, that cadre right there, they're going to become the leadership in another 20 years. And right now, this is a formative experience in their life that, because many of them, they're going to live to be 70, 80 years old. So we're talking now, this is a generational shaping event that for the Iranian people is going to, I think, change the course of Iran over the next 50 years.